When my neighbor Karen stole my packages for months, I decided to send her a special delivery of her own. 50 live mice in a box with her name on it. What happened next was pure chaos, screaming, running, and mice taking over her perfect house forever. Sweet revenge served squeaking. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. I never thought I'd become the type of person who plots revenge. But when your neighbor steals your packages for months and thinks she can get away with it, sometimes you have to get creative. And creative I got, with 50 live mice. It started small. A missing Amazon package here, a delayed delivery there. I figured it was just bad luck or delivery mistakes. But then I noticed a pattern. Every time I ordered something, it would show as delivered, but never appear on my doorstep. Living in a quiet suburban neighborhood, I never expected package theft to be an issue. Most of my neighbors were friendly, normal people. Except for Karen from 2 houses down. Karen was the type of woman who called the HOA about grass being half an inch too long. She complained about kids playing too loudly in the evening. She once reported my elderly neighbor Mrs. Chen for having too many garden gnomes in her perfectly maintained yard. But I had no idea Karen was also a thief until the day I caught her red-handed. The truth hit me like a sledgehammer when I saw Karen walking up her driveway carrying my package. I recognized the return address immediately. It was the birthday gift I'd ordered for my 7-year-old daughter. My blood boiled as I watched her casually stroll to her front door, acting like she owned whatever was in that box. I marched over to confront her, my heart pounding with anger. "Excuse me, Karen," I called out. "I think you have my package there." She turned around with the most innocent expression I'd ever seen. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said with a straight face, while literally holding my package behind her back like a guilty child. "That's my package," I insisted. "I can see my name on the label from here." "Oh, this old thing?" she said, bringing it forward slightly. "The delivery man left it at my door by mistake. I was just about to bring it over to you." It was a lie and we both knew it. The address label was clearly visible and it showed my house number, not hers. But she stood there, bold as brass, trying to convince me she was doing me a favor. That's when I realized this wasn't just about one package. This woman had been stealing from me for months and probably from other neighbors too. The missing items, the delayed deliveries that never came, it all made sense now. I decided to play detective. The next day, I set up a small security camera pointed at my front porch and waited. I also started asking around the neighborhood, casually mentioning my missing packages to see if anyone else had similar problems. Within a week, I had her on video. Karen would wait for delivery trucks to leave, then casually walk over and take whatever was left on doorsteps. Not just mine, but from 3 other houses on our street. The footage was clear as day. Karen, in her bright pink jogging suit, stealing packages like it was her part-time job. She even had the nerve to wave at Mrs. Chen while carrying stolen goods under her arm. Mr. Peterson from across the street confirmed my suspicions. "I've been missing packages too," he said. "I thought the delivery company was just unreliable." Mrs. Rodriguez from the corner house had the same story. "My medicine was supposed to arrive last week, but it never showed up. I had to reorder it." I had evidence, witness accounts, and a clear pattern of theft. But calling the police felt too simple. Karen needed to learn a real lesson, something that would stick with her forever. That's when inspiration struck during a conversation with my friend Mike, who works at Animal Control. He was telling me about their ongoing problem with people abandoning exotic pets, and how they had to deal with some pretty wild situations. "You know," Mike said, taking a sip of his coffee, "the craziest calls we get are when people order animals online and then panic when they arrive. Last month, someone ordered live mice for their pet snake, then called us screaming when the box started squeaking." A wicked smile spread across my face. "Mike, tell me more about those mouse orders." "Oh man," he continued, "these people had no idea what they were getting into. 50 live mice in a ventilated box, all running around and squeaking. The woman who ordered them fainted when she opened the box, and they scattered all over her apartment. It took us 6 hours to catch them all." "Where do people even order live mice?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "There are reptile supply companies online. Perfectly legal, they're sold as food for snakes and other reptiles. But if you're not expecting them..." He shuddered. "Let's just say it's not a pleasant surprise." My mind was already racing with possibilities. Karen wanted to steal packages? Fine. Let me give her a package she'd never forget. I spent the next week researching and planning. I found a reptile supply company that sold live feeder mice, completely legal and harmless, but definitely shocking if you're not expecting them. I ordered the Feeder Mouse Variety Pack, 50 live mice of different sizes in a well-ventilated box. The website warned that the mice would be active and might make noise during shipping, but that just made my plan even better. Then I did something sneaky. I wrote Karen's name on the shipping label but put my address. This way, when she stole it, and I knew she would, she'd technically be stealing her own package. It was a legal loophole that would protect me if things went south. I also made sure to time the delivery for a Friday afternoon, when Karen would be home to deal with her surprise over the weekend. The best part? I set up multiple cameras around my house to capture every moment of what was about to unfold. Friday afternoon arrived and I felt like a kid on Christmas morning. I had taken the day off work and positioned myself at my living room window with a perfect view of my front porch. The delivery truck pulled up at exactly 2:30 p.m., and I watched the driver carefully place the ventilated box on my doorstep. Even from inside my house, I could hear faint squeaking sounds coming from the package. I had already moved my car to get an unobstructed view and started recording on my phone. This was going to be better than any reality TV show ever made. Right on schedule, about 10 minutes after the delivery truck left, Karen appeared from her house. She looked around to make sure no one was watching. Little did she know I was recording everything, then sauntered over to my porch with her usual entitled attitude. I watched her pick up the box and I could see her face change slightly when she felt it move in her hands. She held it up to her ear for a moment, looking puzzled by the sounds coming from inside. But Karen was too greedy to let a little mystery stop her. She tucked the box under her arm and carried it back to her house, probably thinking she'd scored another great steal from her unsuspecting neighbor. She had no idea what was waiting for her inside that innocent-looking cardboard box. About 20 minutes later, I heard the scream. It started as a high-pitched shriek that could probably be heard 3 blocks away. Then came the sound of something heavy crashing to the ground, followed by more screaming, and then what sounded like furniture being knocked over. Karen's front door flew open, and she came running out of her house like it was on fire. Her hair was disheveled, her clothes were torn, and she was frantically brushing at her arms and legs like something was crawling on her. That's when I saw them, dozens of small gray shapes scurrying around her front porch and into her perfectly manicured garden. The mice had clearly escaped when she opened the box, and they were now making themselves at home in her yard. Mice everywhere. Karen screamed at the top of her lungs, dancing around her front lawn like she was performing some kind of frantic ballet. The screaming continued for a good 10 minutes. Karen was running around her yard in circles, trying to chase mice that were much faster and smarter than she was. Some had already disappeared into her flower beds, others were heading toward her neighbors' yards. The commotion was so loud that neighbors started coming out of their houses to see what was happening. Mrs. Chin appeared first, looking concerned but also slightly amused. "Karen dear, what's all the fuss about?" Mrs. Chin called out in her sweet elderly voice. "There are mice everywhere." Karen shouted back, still dancing around and swatting at the air. "Someone sent me a box full of mice." Mr. Peterson emerged from his house across the street, followed by Mrs. Rodriguez from the corner. Soon half the neighborhood was standing in their yards watching Karen's mouse-induced meltdown. "But Karen," Mrs. Chin said innocently, "why would someone send mice to your house? That seems very strange." Karen's face went 3 shades of red. She was trapped. She couldn't exactly explain that she'd stolen the package without admitting to being a thief. That's when I decided to make my grand entrance. I walked out of my house with my phone still recording and the most concerned expression I could muster. "Karen, what's all the commotion about?" I asked, jogging over like a worried neighbor. "Is everything okay?" "Someone sent me a box full of mice," she sputtered, still holding what was left of the cardboard box. The bottom had apparently given out when she dropped it, which explained how so many mice had escaped so quickly. I looked at the shipping label that had fallen to the ground and gasped dramatically. "Karen, this box has your name on it, but this is my address. Did you take this package from my porch?" The look on her face was absolutely priceless. She realized she'd been caught red-handed, but she was in too deep to back down now. I thought it was delivered to the wrong house," she stammered, her voice shaking with both fear and embarrassment. "So you've been taking packages that were delivered to the wrong house?" I pressed, making sure my voice was loud enough for all the neighbors to hear. "For how long?" By now, half the street was watching this drama unfold, including Mrs. Chin, who was clearly enjoying every second of it. I could see people whispering to each other and pointing at Karen, who was still occasionally jumping when she thought she saw a mouse. "Karen," said Mr. Peterson from across the street, his voice stern, "I've been missing packages too. Were you taking those as well?" The dominoes started falling faster than I could have hoped. One by one, neighbors began mentioning their missing deliveries, their mysteriously delayed orders, their packages that showed as delivered but never appeared. Karen was surrounded by people she'd been stealing from for months, all while mice continued to scurry around her feet and disappear into various hiding spots around her property. She finally broke down and started crying. "I only took a few packages here and there," she sobbed. "I was just curious about what people were ordering. I didn't think it was hurting anyone." It was the weakest excuse I'd ever heard, and clearly the neighbors weren't buying it either. The best part was what happened next. Mrs. Chen, sweet elderly Mrs. Chen, pulled out her smartphone and said with a smile, "I've been recording this whole conversation for the last 5 minutes. Should I send this video to the police, or would you prefer to return everyone's stolen items first?" It turns out Mrs. Chen was much sharper than anyone gave her credit for. She'd been suspicious of Karen for months and had been waiting for the right moment to catch her. Karen spent the rest of the afternoon going door to door, returning packages she'd stolen and confessing to her crimes. Some items she'd already opened and used, so she had to pay cash to reimburse her victims. The mouse situation took much longer to resolve. Karen had to call not one but 3 different pest control companies to help catch all the escaped mice. Some had made it inside her house through an open door during her panic, and they were now nesting in her walls and making noise all night long. Over the next few days, the story spread through our neighborhood faster than the escaped mice. Karen became known as the mouse package thief, and absolutely no one trusted her with anything anymore. She tried to file a complaint with the HOA about my prank, but they reminded her that the package had her name on it, so technically she'd been stealing her own property. They also mentioned that package theft was a federal crime, which shut her up pretty quickly. The police did eventually get involved when Mrs. Rodriguez decided to press charges for her stolen medication. Karen ended up having to pay hefty fines and do community service, but the best part was watching her paranoia grow over the following weeks. Every time a delivery truck came down our street, Karen would peek out her windows, checking her own porch obsessively. She was convinced that karma might strike again at any moment. The escaped mice became a neighborhood legend. Some were never caught and apparently made themselves permanent residents of Karen's property. 4 weeks afterward, neighbors would report seeing small gray shapes darting around her garden. Karen's perfectly manicured lawn became a maze of mouse holes and tunnels. Her prize-winning roses were nibbled down to nothing. Her expensive outdoor furniture had tiny bite marks all over it. She spent hundreds of dollars on pest control, mouse traps, and repairs. Every night, she could hear scratching and squeaking in her walls. It was like living in a horror movie, except the monsters were adorable and only weighed a few ounces each. 6 months after the Great Mouse Incident, our neighborhood had transformed completely. Package theft dropped to absolute zero, not just on our street but in the surrounding area as well. Word had spread about what happened to package thieves in our neighborhood. Karen eventually moved away, claiming she needed a fresh start, somewhere without so many pest problems. I think the nightly mouse squeaking in her walls might have contributed to her decision to relocate. The house sold quickly to a lovely young family with twin toddlers who thought the resident mice were cute little pets. They even named some of them and left out food scraps. Mrs. Chen became the unofficial neighborhood watch captain and started a weekly coffee group where residents could report suspicious activity. She still brings up the mouse incident at every gathering and everyone has a good laugh. Other neighbors started calling me the package protector, and regularly ask for my advice whenever they have problems with thieves, scammers, or other troublemakers. The security camera I installed during my detective phase is still up and running, but I haven't needed it for its original purpose since the incident. Now it mainly captures footage of cats trying to catch the descendant mice that still live in the area. My daughter finally got her birthday gift. I had to reorder it, but the wait was worth the show. She thinks the whole story is hilarious and tells all her friends about her dad who fought crime with mice. Mrs. Chen's garden gnomes are still perfectly arranged and HOA compliant. She even added a small decorative mouse figure to her collection as a tribute to our neighborhood's most famous incident. Without hesitation, yes. But hopefully I won't need to. The mouse defense system seems to have created a permanent deterrent effect that extends far beyond just our street. The local delivery drivers all know the story and sometimes joke about it when they drop off packages. "Don't worry," they'll say with a grin, "I made sure this one doesn't squeak." Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting angry or calling the police right away. Sometimes it's giving someone exactly what they deserve in the most poetic and memorable way possible. Karen learned that stealing has consequences, and those consequences might just move into your house permanently and keep you awake at night with their tiny scratching sounds. I learned that my neighbors are amazing people who have each other's backs when it counts. And I learned that sometimes the most satisfying justice comes in small, squeaking packages that multiply rapidly. These days, I've gained something of a reputation in the area. New neighbors moving in are told the story as part of their unofficial welcome orientation. Some even ask to see the famous security footage. Real estate agents mention our street's zero package theft rate as a selling point. Property values have actually gone up because people know their deliveries will be safe here. I've received thank you cards from neighbors, delivery drivers, and even some local businesses who've heard the story. The reptile supply company I use sent me a discount coupon for future orders, just in case. And every time I see a delivery truck on our street, I smile knowing that every package will make it safely to its intended recipient. Because in this neighborhood, we've learned that sometimes the best security system has whiskers, tiny paws, and a very good memory for comfortable nesting spots. Justice served, one mouse at a time. And unlike crickets that eventually die off, mice have a tendency to stick around and remind everyone of the consequences of bad behavior for years to come. Karen, wherever you are now, I hope you've learned to check your packages very, very carefully before opening them. And I hope you've invested in some good soundproof walls, because you never know when karma might come squeaking back to remind you of your past mistakes.